my question is, what can you say to assure responsible gun owners their right will be respected and protected given your voting record in Congress? Because the gun owners of America, as we talked about, didn't give you a very high grade.
It's an aggravation to me that in Congress, we can't do what California did years ago in making sure if you want to walk into a gun shop, or worse, in some of these gun shows that are done in some fairground and nobody's watching, where you can go up there and you can purchase any kind of weapon you want. The Second Amendment gives you a right to possess a weapon. It doesn't say that a state must allow you to buy a nuclear bomb. There are limitations. I'm proud of that F- if that's what the NRA gave me. Not because I don't want to be good for gun owners. Just, I'm going to do what I got to do.
Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, for the record, Dan Reed with National Rifle Association, also representing California Rifle and Pistol Association today. We're here in opposition. We think it's critically important that the next Attorney General for California respect all rights, including Second Amendment rights and one's inherent right to self-defense. Now, during Mr. Becerra's time in Congress, he's consistently voted against Second Amendment hunting-related issues, and we stand in opposition for those reasons. Thank you.
The issue concealed carry and the state's authority. Yet the National Rifle Association, the NRA, is pushing H.R. 38 in Congress to do away with individual states' authority to control public safety within its borders by empowering sheriffs in neighboring states to decide who can carry guns in our communities. Do you agree that such an act by Congress would be an unconstitutional overreach that tramples upon local law enforcement, in this case, our locally elected sheriff's ability to protect the safety of its people?
I find nothing in the Constitution that says that the federal government can determine how we go about enacting and enforcing concealed carry laws. That is a state function as best I can determine. Federal intrusion into a state's sovereign rights to determine how it will use its police powers, how it will provide for public safety. Those are state powers that have been recognized for a long time, and I would simply say that we will do everything we need to do to protect the laws that we have in our books here in California.
Last year we passed Senate Bill 1235, my bullet legislation, and Prop 63 was also on the ballot. The gun lobby took a pass campaign-wise on the ballot initiative. They decided to fight it in a court of law. Unfortunately, the gun lobby hasn't had much trouble forum shopping for friendly judges who tie up laws on this topic, and anticipate they'll try again this year to prevent these laws from taking effect, thus thwarting the will of the voters. For instance, one of my earliest bills on ammunition was tied up, and this was a measure that was signed by then Republican Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger. It was a measure that was one of my earliest bills on ammunition. Again, it's tied up in the court of law for 6 years and only resolved when Senate Bill 1235 was enacted and rendered the case moot. So absent the new law, it could have lingered in court for even longer, in court delays. If given the authority by the legislature, will you as Attorney General consider petitioning the California State Supreme Court to take any challenges to Proposition 63 so that the law can be reviewed in an expeditious and fair manner?
In terms of any actions in court, going to the Supreme Court, as I said before, I will do everything I can to vigorously enforce the laws of our state. And if it requires action up to and including going to the California Supreme Court, I would consider that. I want to be careful, again, how I answer the question, because I want to make sure I understand what the facts would be in this particular case before I can say specifically to that question that it's a yes or no.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Craig DeLuz with the Firearms Policy Coalition in opposition. As was stated previously, civil rights are basically those rights that are endowed to all citizens, not just certain groups of citizens and not just the rights which we agree with. It is up to the Attorney General as the top law enforcement officer to enforce and protect and defend those laws and those rights, whether they agree with them or not. If one has a desire to enact their values in their job, that's the job of the legislature. The job of the Attorney General is to enforce those laws and make sure that the rights of all Californians are being protected. And in a day and age when the rights of Californians who desire to exercise their right to keep and bear arms is under attack, it's an incumbent upon the chief law enforcement officer to make sure that their rights are not being violated. Unfortunately, based on the record, whether it is his comments during this confirmation process or his voting history, we lack the confidence that this particular candidate will have the ability to be able to do that. Making sure that Californians who seek to comply with California law have the ability to do so in a clear and concise manner is vitally important. It has not existed for years in the Department of Justice, and we look forward to working with you to at least make sure that happens.
If you like our videos, follow, subscribe, like, and share.